Welcome, everyone, to the May 14th edition of Conversations in American Democracy. I'm Merrill Shapiro, and you're all welcome to participate. I've been very deja vu all over again. I have been very taken by the passing of former Justice in the Supreme Court, David Souter. And David Souter always pointed out, was very active in promoting civics education, and the point of view that ignorance is the enemy of democracy, and we are conversations in democracy. And so that we become a little less ignorant, I'd like to begin, and then we'll continue reading through the Constitution together by saying that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, the union's not perfect, we have to work to make it more perfect, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish the Constitution, this Constitution of the United States of America. So Article 1, Section 1, very important, ripped from the headlines. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and of a House of Representatives. The House of Representatives shall be, Section 2 of Article 1, the House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications and requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature, so the state decides who is eligible to vote. So we have the House of Representatives. Everyone know who our representative is? Randy Fine. Okay, you need to. Well, we have to say his name so that we can work against it. And I think that we need to make a great effort to tell not Democrats or not liberals, but NPAs, no party affiliation, that our representative Randy Fine is for cutting Medicaid. And so we need to, Randy Fine, you need to remember that name. How long is he in office for? It's a 2-year term, so we're, I don't know how many months away from the time when we need to re-elect again, and there is likely to be someone who will run against him again, who will announce shortly, we're hoping. But more important is Section 1. Who makes the laws in our country? Congress. But Trump said the Associated Press was breaking the law by calling that body of water over there the Gulf of Mexico. Because the law is, Trump said, the law is that it is the Gulf of America. Is Trump correct?
No.
Why not?
It's an executive order.
Yeah, so what's an executive order?
Something that the president decides to write down.
Okay, and who's it for?
The executive branch.
Yeah, the executive branch. Okay? It does not apply to all of us. It is not a law. He thinks it's a law. He said the Associated Press broke the law by refusing to call it the Gulf of America, but rather the Gulf of Mexico. So that's that. Does the corruption that we see at the Trump level, and now who would have thought and once again, we talked about topics for this event, but so many things have happened between the time that we published that notice and now. So what is the meaning of Cutter giving a 747 to Trump, although he now says it's going to the State Department and so on? Does that type of corruption filter down even into our local government?
Kurt's
Yeah. Oh, Kurt. By the way, you don't have to. Kurt, you don't have to raise your hand. Everybody, this is not school. Don't raise your hand. Yell out. Okay?
Beware of Greeks bearing gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called a Trojan horse. Mm-hmm. Why would you ever allow this into our government? Huh? Holy shit.
So we're all supposed to buy American-made cars, but our Air Force One can be from another country?
No, it's a Boeing plane.
Well, but the interior, how much do they spend? I don't know what the interior cost as opposed to the basic plane cost, but yeah.
I have a real problem of oversimplifying things, which I shouldn't do. But to oversimplify this whole Trump corruption thing, he has a get out of jail free card.
Right.
And as long as he has the get out of jail free card, the man can do anything he wants to do without fear of repercussion. The only way he can be stopped, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, is if he is voted out by Congress.
And this morning I saw on YouTube that some representative has introduced a bill for impeachment.
Which will go nowhere.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But that's
Well,
the bottom line. He has a good, he can do anything he wants right now.
Because of the immunity?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
so
But I
yeah.
think it's more important to qualify, he can say anything he wants.
He can do it.
There's a big difference between saying that he's going to accept a gift and actually accepting the gift. It was made clear, and I worked for the Boeing company for 10 years. Every facility available right now to accept this plane, to upgrade it, modify it, to make it usable, is out beyond the delivery date of the plane that Boeing is building now, like 2028. So even if he literally accepted the plane, he would not be able to use it. He would not be able to fly in it. It would sit in a hangar somewhere waiting for a time element for it to get completed. So when I consciously try to caution, myself included, to realize words are flooding the zone and getting all of us to talk about, react to, oh my God, jump off a cliff, whatever, are not true actions. Those are the things that we need to pay attention to, the literal actions from things he has said. Because you can count on one hand how many of those 100 and some EOs, executive orders, have actually fallen through and or completed. And one of them is his attempt with this Gulf of America, which still isn't law. So take a breath, understand and
Oh,
realize
yeah, you're right.
that these are all reactionary things planned within to take away from the conversations of how things work.
Well, maybe that's
Part of
the
it.
point about the plane.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
plans to donate it to his library afterwards, so either way, he gets the plane, even if he doesn't get to use it during his term.
Plus, the way I read it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to retrofit that plane, you're looking at $1 trillion. Close
Well,
to $1 trillion.
Gotta take it down to the
$1 billion.
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who's gonna pay for that?
We are.
Yeah, we are, of course. We've been.
Yeah. So it's an interesting conversation. It's really scary and makes no sense. And
Right.
we're all talking about it, and they're in some back room going, "What's the next thing we're going to say?"
But Joe gave us a big dot. We got to connect some other dots. But Al, what are you going to say?
I've got one, Mark says to take a breath on that one, because it's not really gonna happen, but it's just emblematic of the kind of corruption that Trump is open to. But I have one that I think is happening and is staggering. And that is the EPA has been ordered, and they are following through on rescinding Biden's order about forever plastics. Now, if you've been following microplastics and their effect on the biosphere in general, you know that this is a very, very serious situation. However, forever chemicals have clearly been shown to cause cancer, neurological problems. There is no question about it. Robert Kennedy might have some questions about it, but the science
Or the worm in his brain.
the medical science community has no question about it. And the estimates were starting a low side from the people that were supporting it, say it would cost about $1.5 billion to implement it. The people on the other side are saying it's going to cost $30 billion to implement it. And I'm saying it's the drinking water of the United States of America. What are we spending money on if we're not, do we really need another stealth bomber? Or can we make our water safe to drink? And I think this is a really alarming event with the Trump constant effort to be involved with negating science and putting his opinions in place of the scientific community.
Arnie, what do you say?
While I would agree with words are not actions, words bring actions. And I think historically we all know that. As far as the Gulf of America isn't a law, it is in the state of Florida. DeSantis signed it. So it's here. Where will it be next time? Same thing with everything else that he says. If one or two things out of everything that he says come into being, we're in trouble.
No argument.
Yeah, so talk about the state of Florida, and I still want to get back to Joe's point, but talk about the state of Florida. Can we get together and approach the city council of Palm Coast to have them ban plastic straws? By the way, the state of Florida has forbidden municipalities and counties from banning plastic straws.
Local rule.
Local rule is gone, and all of Tallahassee is directing this, so we can't even stop that. We can't even change that. So Joe, why will a bill of impeachment not go anyplace?
Pardon?
Why will a bill to impeach Donald Trump not go anyplace?
Because of the cowards in Congress,
Okay, so what does it take to overcome that?
the election, the next
Okay,
election.
and so there are not enough Democrats in the House of Representatives, and do we have something to say about that? Yeah, we could work to, again, turn out Randy Fine, replace him with perhaps Josh Wheel, and how many votes do we need? We need a majority in the House of Representatives. How far are we from a majority? 3 votes? Five votes or whatever, so it's not very much. That election coming up in a year from November is very important. And,
Well, not to get too dark on that, but that's assuming that there will be an election in a year and a half, and that it will be run legitimately. And there's a real question over whether or not it will actually take place. And you know that if MAGA is defeated, there'll be lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and it's going to drag on forever. So, waiting for the next election, I mean, I don't know what to do. Short term, as far as getting rid of him, unless Republicans really change their stripes. But I don't think it's good to just sit back and wait for the next election.
well, what can we do? What can we do then? What's the avenue?
Try and get public
Let's start a PAC.
opinion.
Yeah, well, okay, we've talked about that. We have a treasurer, and we have talked that we're going to turn to an attorney who I think many of us all know, but we haven't asked him yet, and see if he'll pro bono help us set up the PAC so that we can have a sizable pot of money to give to an appropriate candidate who reflects our point of view. We know on the other side, there's tons of money available to those other people, let's call them other people. We need to have tons of money, and it's sad, but elections and public offices in our country today have price tags on them. And if you only have $500 to run for office, you're not going to do as well as a person who has $5,000. I think the Stansels can point to that as well. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to discuss what the possible effects of having the first American Pope from Chicago will have on the politics here in America. I mean, it was the #1 thing we were taught in school. There will never be an American Pope. There'll be too much power wielded if there's an American Pope. Just like when they said there will never be an Irishman in the
White House and a Catholic,
presidency because if he's Catholic, then he'll have to bow down to the Pope. So I'd like to hear what everybody has to say about that.
Yeah.
Depends on the Pope.
Well, we have our
what do you
first
mean?
American, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Al,
know, but
yeah.
it depends on what he does,
But do we-
where he's
what-
going to go.
Yeah, well, we already know that he's already taken a stance against both Trump and Vance in his former cardinalship. he's been very vocal about his opposition.
I think it's
to their policies.
patently unfair to have a pope that is a Chicago White Sox fan.
Now,
I mean,
I don't think-
Well, how do you know he doesn't like the Cubs?
by the way, I don't.
He said so.
Can you think of a greater demonstration of faith than to root for the White Sox? You gotta have faith that's
Or
deep and wide.
stupidity. Or stupidity.
Okay, I mean, he seems like a bright guy. He's got a bunch of degrees.
I saw something online,
Yeah.
an acquaintance of mine from Mexico posted a beautiful picture of the Pope with a supposed quote that he made about being woke and how good it is to be woke and all this kind of stuff and how proper it is. And I checked on it, of course, he never said it.
Oh.
So you're gonna see a lot of that, and that kind of stuff in every election now. I mean, people wanna believe that.
Yeah.
You know, that the Pope would stand up and be that forceful. And it wasn't true. And so between bots that will present a particular point of view or just, you know, outright nonsense that people put out there, we've discussed this before, but it's tricky.
Yeah, we're in a post-truth world, I'm afraid.
My understanding though isn't, and I need help with this, the Christian National Right and the Southern Baptist, Episcopal, all of those groups, they've already shunned the Catholics, and the Catholics have tried to separate themselves from all the efforts that were going on, hence the way the Pope was speaking about you're not following in the steps of Jesus and forgiving and taking care of the poor and all that. So what kind of impact are you hoping that a Catholic Pope could have on the politics of America? We all know that Trump's already upset with, again, ABC for not giving him credit for the Pope being chosen from America. He actually said that in one of his Truth Social things, going, he got chosen because of me. And then the guy threw him under the bus, which is perfect. But I just don't think the Catholics want to play in that.
If the Pope would come out and say it's okay to have women priests,
Well, he's not gonna say that.
No.
you ask what
it's
the
gonna
Pope
take.
could do. If the Pope would come out and do that, think of the publicity, the ramifications. It would just change the whole dynamic, right? Away from what is currently available. So
We'll probably have a schism. The
Well,
Catholic
there
Church,
is-
the Catholic Church
The
would
way I understand it
divide.
now, there is one now, in the Catholic Church, like, I'm a recovering Catholic, right? I haven't been in a Catholic church in forever, but anyway, there is, the movie star, I forget his name.
Mel Gibson,
Mel Gibson is part of this Agnus Dei.
very
Yeah,
conservative.
yeah.
Right, so you have that.
Very
Very
right,
right, very right.
already
Yeah.
Well, we might
in
actually
the
have
Catholic
been.
Church. I remember when it changed from Latin. I mean, I
Yes.
used to be an altar boy. I could do the Latin in Mass, right? Because I'm old. But it changed. The Mass changed from Latin to English. There were people, oh my God, you can't do that, right?
And meet on Friday.
And well, my mother, my Italian mother, was told by a priest that if she didn't eat meat continued to not eat meat on Friday, she was putting herself above the church, right? I mean, so you have all these conservative thoughts, but it would, at least, if nothing else, it would take oxygen away from Trump. If he would do something really mind-boggling. Other than that, what difference does it make?
Like dressing up as the Pope when he's lying in repose?
Right, yeah.
I'm still waiting
That's
for
not
Trump to
outrageous
do
enough?
something.
Yeah,
Don't you
yeah.
guys find it odd and interesting that this AU meeting is spending so much time talking about
Oh, yeah.
religion in our
Politics,
politics?
yeah.
Well, it's-
Yeah.
I mean, I was like,
It exists.
really?
Bubbling
I
up.
Yeah.
don't
It is
deny it.
Naturally
bubbling up, it is
bubbling
up to
actually
the
fundamental to
surface.
the
Yeah,
conversation.
But
Yeah, no.
speaking of religion though too, I was hoping you could give us an update, Meryl. A couple of months ago, I had circulated a petition that Merrill put out. He was trying to save a building in St. Augustine that has a lot of history and background, and I was just reading this week that Merrill was successful in his efforts. He saved the building.
All right.
You've given me too much, online, on Facebook, you gave me too much credit for that.
Can you update us?
Okay, just an aside issue that really, there was a demolition permit issued for the jail annex in St. Johns County on Lewis Speedway Drive, if you know it. It is a jail that in 1964 held Martin Luther King, and at the same time Ralph Abernathy, and then a week later was the largest mass arrest of rabbis in U.S. history, but right here in St. Augustine, when 16 rabbis and a lay leader were arrested and were put in that jail as well. And so the building has some historic significance, and there are people in St. Johns County, in St. Augustine itself, and it's hard to believe. I would expect it here, and we see it here in Palm Coast, but they do want to pave Paradise and put up a parking lot. And so they wanted to demolish this building. We got together, protested in various and sundry ways. I'm only one cog in the wheel, and we were successful in having the county state, we will not demolish that building. So,
Right.
Not only that, but I was reading there should be a section of that building that they're going to designate to acknowledge the history.
Yeah, and
So
now
that's-
It's
Now that-
powerful right
yeah.
now with the anti-woke movement, you know, it's kind of in their face.
And that's, we are bringing into town from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, Avi Dresner, the son of the rabbi who Martin Luther King telegrammed in June of 1964 to come down with as many rabbis as possible. And he did not understand the dynamic that these rabbis in 1964, as so many other people, were woke before they were woke. And therefore, frankly, right-wing politicians, anti-woke politicians are not going to show up and not going to be involved, but we're going to maintain that woke is the right way to go, and that's the meaning of this. I'll send you all the invitations to each June the 18th we gather. We have previously gathered at the Hilton Garden Inn Bayfront in St. Augustine, which is the site of what was the formerly Monson Hotel, where the rabbis were arrested, walking arm in arm with a black teenager into a whites-only dining room. And by the way, that was to distract from, so that distracted everybody, and that allowed 4 black teenagers to jump into the swimming pool, and then later a deputy fully armed and jumped in and so on. And thus, and Jimmy Brock, the owner and manager of the hotel, went to the supply locker, took out muriatic acid, poured it into the pool. That picture was taken, and it was on the front section, not the front page, of the next day of the Boston Globe, the New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, Washington Post, and helped to break the filibuster that was holding up the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So that helped a great deal, and that was the purpose.
Pivotal.
By the way, 3 days later, of course, some young men by the name of Cheney, Goodman, and who's the fourth, the third, were murdered and buried in a dam in Philadelphia, an earthen dam in Mississippi, for about which the movie Mississippi Burning was taken. But that's all, that's not necessarily politics, that's history. But yes, it does show that if we all gather together and speak with one voice, that we can influence politicians that seem often to have heads full of cement and are not necessarily listening.
So that's a great lead way into
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
You're
Good
new.
to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, so the fuel farm?
Okay,
Concerns?
so we'll talk about the fuel farm, and then we'll go and talk about the choice of Ed Danko by Randy Fine. But fuel farm is next. Yes, please.
So, within the last week, there was a meeting in Bunnell for zoning for many acres in Bunnell to become an area for heavy industrial. So at the zoning meeting, I'm a leader in a local group, 5051, and many people in our group went to that meeting in opposition of the heavy industrial. And at the meeting, many locals stood up and spoke, opposing heavy industrial, and the board voted. One member of the board had to recuse herself because she stands to make money from selling that land. So she did not vote. But it was voted on and it was approved and is moving forward. So the next step is the city of Bunnell itself, their leaders on their board, voting for or against this heavy industrial. There was supposed to be a meeting for that, I believe, on the 28th, and they put that on the back burner. So we've been trying to raise awareness, and my group organized a sign waving rally before a meeting a couple of nights ago in Bunnell. And we had between 30 and 40 people show up. Half of the people were from my group, half of the people were locals. And the locals are very concerned. We helped them make a flyer to inform their community, and we got the flyer into their hands yesterday, and several of the locals went door to door delivering the flyers, making people aware, because a lot of people in their community are not even aware of this going on. So we're having 2 more sign waving rallies to help make them aware, because they're not aware, and they're both on Saturday for anybody that can make it. So this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 in front of Target. Signage would be opposing any heavy industrial in Flagler County, which we should all care about, not just Bunnell. The locals would love to see something go in that area, a mall or other manufacturing, but they're concerned about the chemicals and the heavy industry. And then following that 11 a.m. to 12 in front of Target, the whole group is moving to Bunnell. On the intersection of Moody Boulevard and US 1, there's parking near the Bantam Chef. And so we'll move from 12 o'clock to 12:15 out there and stay there till 1:15, trying to make the locals aware and we're helping the locals that know and care. We're helping them to spread the word. So anybody that is passionate about that and willing to come and help, we'd love to have you come and, make your voice heard and make a poster and show up.
But we understand, I thought they came out against it, that the board said they would not vote for it.
That's the city of Palm Coast.
Yeah, but
So-
no, the Bunnell, I just read
Nope.
it recently, that Bunnell did it too.
No, the Bunnell Zoning Board Commission, they put it through that it would be okay for it to move forward. And so now it goes to the Bunnell Board, and they were supposed to have a meeting on that the 28th, but they've put that meeting on the back burner for now, because I think they're seeing the community rise up about it,
Right.
which is good. We need to keep making noise and supporting the people in Bunnell. But not only do I want to support the people in Bunnell, but I don't want it in Flagler County, period. My home would be probably 8 miles from it. I'm with them, I'm helping them in any way that I can.
Will this matter come before the Board of County Commissioners?
So, I think that's one of the steps. There's steps that are moving along, and the first step moved on to the next one.
Okay, because my understanding is that Belvedere, and I've encountered this in other areas, Belvedere is telling the people of Bunnell, these outside agitators from Palm Coast and from other places are fiddling in and this means a great deal to the tax base of Bunnell, and don't let those Palm Coast people, Flagler Beach people, and other terrible people try to influence us and cost us money by driving Belvedere out of Bunnell. So it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah, it's progressing along,
Yeah.
and so it's important, if you care about that, to support their community.
all right, thank you. Now, so before we run out of time, let's talk about Fine's, our Representative Fine, who's up for an election in, again, 18 months or whatever. His choice of Ed Danko, a former city council person, to be the person to cover our community. What does that mean, Mark? What does that mean to you? What is Randy Fine saying?
He's trying to keep Ed Danko relevant in the politics of Flagler County.
Okay.
He was at the Palm Coast Expo, walking around, shaking hands.
He,
Ed Danko.
Not Randy Fine, yeah, okay.
I was actually standing next to Brian from the Observer when Mr. Danko came up without any prompting and explained that he wasn't prepared to make a news release at this time on his new job.
Nobody
And
asked
Brian's looking at him like, no one asked you to say anything. So the REC in Flagler County, which is the Republican Executive Committee, is very strong, very organized, and is working hard for the next election. As we've seen in what Al sent about the attack on free speech, specifically liberal type speech like Flagler Live, and we're going to see a lot more of it. We need to prepare ourselves, including myself with my podcast and others, that they're scared. Having Randy Fine select Ed Danko is his efforts to stay visible, apparent, and participating in things that are going on. He has no idea what his role is going to be at this point. I don't believe that this normal, Ed Danko lost running for the county commissioner position in the primary, so Republicans in this county kind of know Ed Danko, and they know Randy Fine, and they're looking for other options and alternatives. So this action, in my mind, is more of a preparation for knowing they're in a battle come 2026 with whoever we put up to run. So the people I talked to are not surprised. Ed Danko is trying desperately to stay relevant. He's in a lawsuit. He's in a ethics battle with our mayor, and anytime he can get his name in the paper, around the paper, on the paper, he's going to try to do that. So we will see.
And what is Ed Danko's relationship to civility in government?
Well, he's the one that would proudly wear the red hat to city council meetings. So, and he questioned every one of Gambaro's, Heitner's. He sat on that dais and asked every potential candidate running for a nonpartisan position selection for Congress or Councilwoman Heitner, are you a Republican or Democrat? He actually asked that question.
His use of foul language in city council meetings has caught the attention of some. I'll use the name Mike and Dee Cocciola. They just said horrible things about them. He said horrible things about others, constituents. He is an uncivil brute. And this is Ed Danko, and when he runs for office, once again, we need to have somebody to run against him. It's very important. Are there any other issues anyone would like to raise or discuss? It's not as if anything's going on. By the way, going back to the president, is he visiting any countries in which he doesn't have a business deal pending, whether it's in cryptocurrency or putting up a hotel? No, okay. I was wondering about that.
So if it's okay, I'd like to take 2 seconds to go over. I was at our city council meeting last night.
Yeah, please.
For 7 hours.
Get out of here.
They started early at 4. I have the agenda right here. There were
7 hours and 2 seconds, you said, right?
Oh my God.
Okay, that's a joke.
So the things that they are working on, my opinion, is due to the inability of the city, including our sheriff department, to support existing rules and regulations. And I'll give you an example. Very first one, traffic calming. Everybody knows Florida Park Drive's a nightmare. They put some bumps in it to try to slow it down. They were trying to do conversations about speeding. But that's not the issue on Florida Park Drive. It's a cut through between two major areas in which the number And they did a study and they found that 80% of the people that drive, even with those speed bumps, are at least 7 to 10 miles over the speed limit. They did a citywide evaluation, paid for by us, and found that historically most people exceed the speed limit by approximately 5 to 10 miles an hour. So if you're living in a road that kids are on, that has no sidewalk, and the speed limit's 30, people are driving 40. Non-compliance. And everyone admitted in the meeting they have no power to have Sheriff Staley or the Sheriff's Department, which is run by the county, in which we pay roughly $8 million a year for services to help us with the speeding. Saltwater canals. They want $20 million of our money to dredge and repair these saltwater canals, which have not been maintained. Every one of the people that own those canals, by law, are required to maintain their frontage and whatever to reduce. There's no inspection, there's no verification, there's no accountability to help that. Again, law in place, nothing to follow it. When we go on to, and I was going to give them the powers that be, because Donna is on the Residential Drainage Citizens Advisory Committee. We all know we're struggling with drainage, right? How many of you know in this room who live in Palm Coast, if the drainage culvert under your driveway fails, you financially are responsible for fixing it?
Yes.
Up to $5,000 to $7,000. That's the law. Most people didn't even realize that. Or that you can call the city to have them come and vacuum it out or clean it or maintain it. The other thing, we were talking about commercial vehicles, business vehicles parked in someone's driveway. You own a business, you have a wrapped vehicle. People have been parking their plumber vehicles and their electric vehicle and their other issues for years. It's in violation of our code, and it's been like that forever. There's zero enforcement.
There is.
Yeah, but-
This is an also
I have, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people, in fact, the fish bite guy's around the corner from me. I talked to him the other day. I walked by him, and he goes, "Well, you know, I just went around all my neighbors and told them that it's just here and whatever, and none of them reported because it's action area. If you get a complaint through code enforcement, it's coming from a neighbor or somebody else, right?
Was that the thing, but did they vote on that, or was there was supposed to be
They did
discussion?
so this was a workshop. So this was open for discussion. So they've asked the staff to come back and clarify what is a commercial truck, what is it, and it happened right, the slippery slope of rules, right? So somebody said, well, I'm a realtor and I just have a little 3x3 sign, is that okay? And the next person was from 380, what's the Benel seafood place that is closed now? 386?
386.
They have
386.
they have a trailer. And they want to know, well, if you're going to let him do it, I want to park my trailer. Or I want to park my boat. I mean, it just cascaded down. It was amazing to watch. And then the most exciting one was your home colors.
Oh.
We all know that our city council has spent thousands of dollars researching and worrying about the colors of your home.
Oh, wow.
Because one person painted their home blue, the color of that cup, and claimed that she couldn't interpret the application, which was proven last night to not be true, and that the contractor that painted it what she asked and didn't verify. But the amount of energy of an existing color scheme to trying to add a couple of more colors has been going on now for multiple city councils. On the city manager search, they terminated the one. They're actually made their own announcement, job announcement, applicant, whatever, ad, and the city is putting it on Monster, LinkedIn, and all of these standard job search forms, looking for the cream of the crop city manager. So that's where we're at with that right now. But, I missed one.
Okay, then finish up and do a commercial for
Backyard chickens.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. This was, and if you'll see, I stood up there as they were, and there's a lot of people for and against and all of that. The rule in this city is that chickens are considered farm animals are not allowed. Yet, everyone on that city council admitted, well, there's probably 50 to 100 families that already have chickens. And I looked at them and said, so help me understand, you have a law in the books that says no chickens. You admit that there are chickens here. Why are there chickens here? Why are you allowing chickens here? And why are you wasting our time to try to approve an open-ended, have as many chickens or whatever you want? Now, for the record, I could care less whether you have chickens or not, but I do care about the rule of law. What is the one thing we're seeing in the failure of our democracy right now, right? What do we hear every day? The rule of law. Well, I'm not sure if I need to defend the Constitution. Our president said that. And here in this city, our city council, who are mostly Republicans, are in one mouth saying, as a property owner, you have the right to do what you want. And yet, there's hundreds of rules in Palm Coast about how to control and restrict the house that you live in, the color, what animals you can have, what truck you can park. You see the similarity in everything that was going on last night and what's happening with our city.
Right.
Petty.
Well, it's not just
flies
petty.
in the-
It's that
and-
it's the fact of the matter is I'm going to break the rule enough to get you to change the rule. Where are we hearing that daily
Yeah.
in our politics?
Sure.
Okay.
It's filtrated down.
So I stood up there and said, look, I don't care if you have chickens or not, but if there's a law that says you can't have chickens, and you tell me you know there are chickens, why aren't you removing those chickens?
Why does Fine want a guy like Danko?
Because
Same reason, because
exactly.
his boss is
Yeah.
like that.
So the similarities, the connecting the dots is something that we as citizens in this city need to be aware of, need to be organized like you have, and to speak up and say, hey, those regulations in Palm Coast have been there for a long time.
And they were there to ensure the tranquility of
Domestic-
our community.
Well,
Back
exactly.
to
Domestic
the
tranquility,
opening
yeah.
point.
And so are they saying the problem is with code enforcement or the fact that we don't have our own police department? I mean, we have our own fire department, but we don't have our own police department.
Those are all
We
code
take-
enforcement.
Hmm?
I think those are all code enforcement.
Yeah, it's code enforcement.
Yeah,
not-
but
Well-
code enforcement has no teeth. They need.
Well, they
police
do.
department
They
to
can
back
put
them
liens,
up.
they can put fines and liens.
Mhm.
So this is my
But you can't
opinion.
throw them in jail, what I'm saying. You
No,
need a
but they
police
can put
department.
liens on your house
Yeah.
that could affect you. Here's my take on it. This is my personal take. Code enforcement is only enforced when there's a complaint lodged.
Oh, okay.
So if you're giving eggs to your neighbors, are they gonna call on your chickens?
Right.
I'm making that assumption. But the point is, for a city council person to look me in the face and say, I know that my neighbors have chickens. And then say, and this was Teresa Pontieri saying, I know my neighbor has chickens, and I know that it's against the code, and you are my elected official. What part of this is broken? So
Yeah.
that's,
Do
Go-
1 minute.
Yeah,
Wait,
go ahead.
fun-
And then-
I'm
fun
done.
update. So we have had, our group has reached out to Flagler Pride in the past. We had Amanda Redwine come here to our group and talk about the science of transgender and whatnot. And last Friday night, Flagler Pride had a gay prom, and a group of people from the group that I help lead, Flagler 5051, we went and we supported the gay prom. And we all had a wonderful time, and one of our members from 5051 was crowned prom queen, and one of the members from Flagler Pride was crowned prom king, so that was exciting. And we partnered with them, and Flagler Pride is having a Pride Fest the first week of June. June is Pride Month. They are having an event of their own in Central Park here in town. It is their event. But we have co-partnered with them to do a Pride Month finale at the end of June, and it will be Flagler Pride and Flagler 5051 and anybody who is allies coming together to do a Pride sign waving dance party. We have a professional photographer coming to take pictures there, and all of those will be put on the photographer's link for free for any attendees to get the pictures for free. And we will have some dance party music in 2 different areas of the event, and I'll get more information to you. It should be a great time. Everybody's invited, so that's happening in June.
Okay.
That's on the bridge.
No, that's at,
Well,
well,
the town center,
Yeah, that town
yes,
center,
and then,
that's something
yes.
No, no, no.
There's the dance party.
The dance
Yes.
party's on the bridge, right?
Yes,
Oh, is it on the?
And that's
Okay.
a high visible,
exactly,
Yeah, it's a
exactly.
great
Cars
place
will
to have
be
it.
going this
Right.
way,
Right.
cars will be going this way,
Right.
and we have coordinated music for both sides. The music will be playing on both sides. We want people to wear fun glasses and socks and whatever you want to wear, and love and peace and happiness for 1 hour at the end of June.
Thank you. You want to do a commercial for Ponderings?
Ponderings from Palm
Very,
Coast.
very quickly.
Ponderings from Palm Coast.
Another podcast. Look for it on YouTube. And
Exactly.
Been watching.
Yeah, no,
devoted to
it's,
some local Palm
And
Coast
soon to
issues,
be elsewhere.
and soon to be elsewhere. So,
Stratosphere.
yeah. So thank you very much, and we'll do this again. Not sure, yeah, sometime and someplace. I will do my best. I will keep you informed. I presume everyone here got an email about this event, so you're on the email list. And if not, give me an email address, and I'll be happy to send it to you. And keep an eye on the news, and let's think of how we can get our people into public leadership and to elected office here in our community. Yep. Thank you.